Well, that was the green card thing.
Okay.
Because after I got my green card, I got fired from Motown, and so then Barry Gordy called me up right away, a day later, and he goes, "You're not fired, Tom. There's been a big mistake because you know you're the guy." You know, and I said, "No, I think I'm going to stay fired." You know, because I saw a movie called "I Love You, Alice B. Toklas," and it was all about California, and I was in Detroit, freezing my ass off, living in the ghetto. Playing for a white chick that didn't know what a fucking green card was. Or I could be in LA laying on the beach writing songs. I think I'll go to LA.
I think you were impressed by the brownies in the movie.
Oh, totally. Oh, totally. And then I had the nightclub that we worked at in Vancouver. I had no band. I had nothing going on. So I went back to Vancouver to work in the nightclub. You know, just to put another band together or to figure out what I'm going to do. And while I was back there, we had two clubs. We had an after-hours club where the Supremes found us, and then we had a strip club, Vancouver's first strip club, a titty bar. And so I worked in the titty bar, I was doing the lights. And then I noticed that the show was kind of boring, you know, that no one watched the show. The girls would get on stage, they'd take off their clothes, there'd be a couple of drunks looking at them, but everybody else was kind of talking, ignoring them. And I realized, you know, then we had a whole show. We had singers, we had a tap dancer. And so I'm up there and I got creative and I thought, you know, and I saw the committee here. You know, there's an improv group here called the Committee. And I used to love going there and watching them when I was in San Francisco. And so I could remember all their bits. And so I started an improvisational group with the topless dancers. And it was great because I noticed when the girls come to work, they look beautiful in their street clothes and everything else. But when they put on their stripper outfits, they look kind of, you know, cheap and everything. So I thought, wow, what if we did a skit where the girls got on with their street clothes into the pajama party, you know? And so the stage was supposed to be one of the girls' apartments. And then the people would come in one at a time, and you know, the singer and the tap dancer come in, and hey Taps, hey Jeannie, how you doing? Hey Taps, how'd the club go tonight? And, oh, it was good. Well, show us what you did. And so Taps do a little tap dance, you know, do his tap dance, and the audience, the first time they ever watched him, and this guy could dance, so they give him a big applause, and then the girls would come up with their street clothes on, and they would take off their clothes to put on their pajamas. Well, you could hear a pin drop in that room. Everybody just watching these girls take off their blouse. Oh, wow. And then they're taking off their bra. Oh my God, you can see her titties and everything. And it was a big hit. And so I had another partner, the doorman. Oh no, and then Taps Harris, he was the MC. He quit because he was hired to introduce the girls. He wasn't hired to tap dance. And so that tap dancing wore his ass out, so he quit. And so I needed a straight guy, so I hired the doorman. His name was Dave Graham. And Dave said, I'll do it if you do it. And so that's how I got in the show. So Dave and I would do these comedy bits. And then we had a straight man called Rick Lenz. He was a real actor. And that was another thing. As soon as I changed the topless thing from a topless club into a theater group, everybody's wage went right down. Actors would work for nothing or $5 a night. And so the cost of the show went down, but unfortunately, the audience got very intellectual and very smart. And so the bar tab went right down too. They would sip a glass of wine all night. And so it was a trade-off, but we packed the place. And then the straight guy, his wife found out what he was doing. And so he had to quit, and so that's when I met Cheech.
Yeah, when did you meet Cheech? Now he had come to Canada to avoid the draft.
Yes, he was a draft dodger.
And where he just came into the club?
No. What happened? It was a mutual friend that Cheech was working for an underground newspaper called Poppin' in Vancouver as a writer. He was like a music critic. For Poppin', and the Russian, the guy that owned the magazine, he was a fan of the show, And so he told me, I got a perfect guy for the straight man. And so that's how I got introduced to Cheech. And at first when I met Cheech, I didn't know what the hell he was, you know. What is he? Iranian? No. I don't know. I'd never met a Mexican before. I'm from Canada, man, you know. And it was weird. Then I found out later that he's Mexican. I was, oh, wow. Touch him. Yeah. Well, he wasn't. But he was Mr. You see that picture of him? He was Mr. Like a Johnny Mathis. He was very straight. His name was Richard Marin at the time. And so then he joined up as Richard Marin. And he never did any Mexican accent or anything. And so he was like the straight guy. And so when finally we got fired, my brother fired, I got fired for everything, man. I got fired, this is the third or fourth time. And then Cheech was the only one that wanted to keep doing it. And so we put a band together. And we had a gig at this place, it was a battle of the bands. And so we thought we'd go on and do a little bit of comedy and then we'll play some music. But we started doing the comedy and we couldn't get out of the comedy. We did 45 minutes of straight comedy and the crowd loved us, man. They quit, you know, they were all gathered around to the front of the stage. And we actually won the battle of the bands without playing a note. And then we're coming home, and I had my dad's car, and the windshield wipers quit working, and it was raining. It was pouring. It was like a torrential rainfall. And so I wired a coat hanger outside to the windshield wipers, and we took turns leaning out the window, watching out the window. And we were talking about, oh man, we went over good. Yeah, we got an act. We got something going here. What should we call ourselves? And we went through Richard and Tommy, nah. Marin and Chong, no. And I said, Cheech, don't you have a nickname? And he said, yeah, it's Cheech. Cheech and Chong. Perfect. And that's how we were born.